plays very important role in order to transfer signal from point A to point B. Okay, and they all transfer signals in form of electromagnetic fields. Now, how do we have breaks in plane? So, breaks in plane can be due to antipads, okay, and it is also possible to have some voids which is within the layout. Okay, now these voids will basically create larger current loop. Okay, uh, meaning that your current should take, if there is no void, the current will travel in this direction, wherein the return current will be beneath the signal. Okay, when it sees a void, uh, the current is going to take a deviation from this because there's no physical connection possible, and it's going to take the least inductance path and forming a larger return current loop. At this point of time, okay, the impedance has changed. The impedance from trace to plane, okay, which is going through your dielectric constant of your board and then goes to plane, will have a significant amount of change, and energy will be basically start radiating. Okay, so and this structure is shown just because it also act as slot antenna. So this is one way of understanding how breaks happens in a plane and how they radiate EMI. Now there are many causes. We talked about antipads, we talked about voids, but there can be more situations where return current path will be disturbed, or it may form longer deviation, which will result in more the frequencies. Okay, so the challenge is how do you avoid breaks in plane, right? So ideally speaking, you can just have a solid ground reference plane beneath the signals, okay, which you're routing, and maybe you can have a power plane references attached to the high speed connections. Okay, in this example, I'm taking example of DDR3 because they tend to work at very high edge rates in order of gigahertz. Okay, when I say in the signal bandwidth, the signal timing will be somewhere close to 1 gigahertz. The bandwidth of a signal will be much larger than that, which can be simply calculated using bandwidth of a signal can be simply calculated by 0.35 by over rising time of a signal. So now in this example, I have shown a DDR3 routing, and you can see that one has to do a proper power planning in order to lay out power plane or a ground reference. Okay, and now having such environment will basically increase the number of power planes in your design. So if you start taking out power planes for separate interfaces or high speed interfaces, at the end you see that it has increased your stack up, which will eventually increase the cost of your PCB. Okay, so this can be one solutions where you have flexibility of adding power plane and references to your design, and if not, then one would need to do better power planning in order to come up with such challenges. Okay, for example, the other example would be you can have a different voltage reference laid out beneath the signal traces. Okay, maybe if you take as DDR3, which operates at 1.5 volt, you can have other references, other power references which are working at 2.2 volt, 2.5 volt, or 3.3 volt. But now that will require lots of decoupling capacitors, because the moment electromagnetic field goes to your power plane, okay, and then it has to take a least inductance path, and it will try to search for the least inductance path, and in order to provide a least inductance path, you should place capacitors, something known as stitching capacitors. So now, challenge with stitching capacitor is that stitching capacitor also have some of the parasitics associated with the structure, which will be in terms of RLC, right? So the bandwidth of your capacitor is limited, because at after the resonance frequency, you would see that your capacitor is more of inductor. So instead of providing least impedance path to high speed, it is now more of inductor, a more of inductive loop. The other challenges in switching capacitor will be when there is multiple of traces routed next to maybe one switching capacitor. So all the other return path, all the other multi-trace return path will also pass through the same stitching capacitors. Okay. Now a resulting current at that point of time, okay, will be much higher. That means that you will see something called crosstalk in return current. So one stitching capacitor would not really serve the job, and engineer has to analyze the situations and then try to come up with a minimum number of capacitor which can really work, and also to also make sure that all the signals sees more of capacitive field instead of inductive field. Okay. What are the other ways you'll have electromagnetic field radiated inside your design? So the one example will be having traces close to edges. So traces near the edge of a reference plane causes fields to wrap around the edge, and some of them may radiate. As you see in an image here, that when I have a reference plane, most of my energy, or let's say EM energy, is coupled to the next reference plane, wherein the moment you trace or transmission line sees cut out, or let's say edge, the part of it will start radiating to dielectric, or maybe the air. So any component or any equipment nearby will see a larger influence. Now, couple of more common causes uh, for routing too close to the edge will be you might have a larger mechanical hole inside your designs, and you will by mistakenly route the signal close to mechanical holes, or you would have some kind of uh, situations where you have a larger void taking place due to the placement of component, which means these are the IC pins, and if you have a larger antipad defines, it will eventually act as a void for your layout. Okay. Now we will also see what are the other challenges we have in terms of radiative